What the
Who the
flippity
hell
floppity?
voted for me?
Who the hell voted for me?
I
I don't know. Are you're having a conversation, making a conversation with them?
don't know. Who the hell voted for me?
Boston Rob and Amber.
Yeah, it works pretty well, yeah.
I'm
150 to 200%.
We could just say that. I'm 150
I am-
200% happy.
150 to 200% happy.
With what? With
I'm
what?
just happy.
Just
Straight out of
everything.
the Godfather.
Straight out of the Godfather. Straight out of the
That's
Godfather.
straight out of
Boston Rob. Boston.
Hold on.
That's straight out. That's straight out.
Boston Rob.
It's straight out of Boston Rob.
Yeah.
Straight out of Boston Rob.
Who the hell?
Who the hell?
Who the hell? Just who the hell?
Boston Rob and Amber.
What's going on over here? What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Who the
All right, Alec, welcome. Are you ready to talk about?
Boston Rob and Amber.
Yes, I'm ready to talk about Boston Rob and Amber. I'm so ready. I'm about to crack one open and chill with the boys. And by the boys, I mean you.
Yes, the boy.
Crack open
With
a
your
cold one.
boy.
Here we go.
Look, this is a great time. I always enjoy this. Our season retrospective, you could say, a full review of the season. In case you
It
don't
is
know,
indeed.
viewers, we did reactions and discussions for each episode of Survivor All Stars, and now we're doing a review of the season overall. And you can also check out all the previous seasons. We at the very least did reviews of all of them, but also did reactions for the last 4 seasons. So it's great. It's been a great time. But the season reviews where we get to go in depth, talk about a lot, and really this season was the season of Boston Rob and Amber. At the end of
It's a
the day,
love story.
it's a love story. It's a the rich get richer story, where they're always on
Yeah.
top,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
really are never. They face very little adversity the whole season, if you think
It's
about it.
very, yeah, it's kind of true, yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. We'll talk about what are your general thoughts on the season overall going after just having watched it last week, the finale.
Very mixed in general, I would say. I think it's really hard to sort of like define or classify the season because I really liked what it ended up being. But as the name Survivor All Stars, I don't know if it really necessarily lives up to that idea. Particularly because like towards the latter half of the game, all of our quote unquote all stars, most of them are gone. You know, they were out of here pretty early on. So yeah, that in and of itself is like I don't know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But as a whole, though, it got better as it kept going. It did get better as it kept going. It was very rote and kind of boring towards the beginning. I remember me and you were both kind of. It was yeah, not my favorite thing in the world. Just because it was very predictable. It was super easy to see where it was going. The decisions being made were not highly like super strategic. It was just kind of like, yep, that's what we're doing. Here it is. That's what's going. That's what's happening. And yeah, it just wasn't all that interesting to watch. Then we have the Hawk Hatch incident, which was horrible. And I was like, this whole season is cursed. I was saying that after that. Like, the season is cursed. It's been so dull so far. There's been like Jenna Maraska left to be with her mother who was ill, and thankfully she got to spend some time with her before she passed away. And like, yeah, it was just so there was that. So she left, and then the Hatch Hawk incident, and Sue left the show after that. And I was like, what is this? This isn't All Stars. This is cursed. It was horrible. It was like we had 2 people that were eliminated because they left. Like,
Yeah.
that's not great. That's terrible. That's never happened before
Not
in
great.
the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was just like a really bad feeling overall, and that was like the first half of the show was a lot like that. And like I said, wasn't a lot of strategy. I mean, there was a lot of talk of strategy, but there wasn't anything interesting really happening throughout most of it. So the focus was very less on survival aspects or even the culture. I remember we mentioned, like, in one of the last episodes, like, oh yeah, that's right, we're in Panama.
Yeah.
We barely talked about Panamanian culture here at all.
Yeah.
So
you got more of the history of Survivor than anything is what it was about.
Yeah, and I mean, points to it for that, because it's like, yeah, you've got a few years of history now and like multiple seasons, and it's fun and it's enjoyable, and I had a great time with the parts that were fun, but it just kind of those early parts especially. But as it kept going on, it got a lot better, and I found myself really enjoying the show from probably about maybe around the midway point on. Yeah. I mean, it was great.
Though in a sense, really, there was like, it was really predictable even in the merge, though, because like even your power rankings that you did, it was pretty much exactly how it seemed like it was going to go, is how it went all the way down to the final 4 alliance, and then the final 2, Rob and Amber.
It was the drama, though. I think that was like their relationship forming. Can Rob continue going? I think that was enough tension to keep it going, which I thought was interesting. That sort of kept it going. Can he stay on top? Because he was already established as an interesting character. So we see someone like Brian controlling the game in Thailand the whole time, and you find yourself being like, can somebody top him? And it ends up being kind of like dull and disappointing that no one does, just because he kind of painted himself as a supervillain. Rob is, but Rob's a lot more charismatic and tends to be portrayed as having a lot more going on under the surface, rather than just, I am the Godfather. It's like, yeah, that's definitely the influence of his game, but there's a lot more going on, and a lot of that is thanks to his relationship with Amber, getting a sort of a softer side out of him, her playing into it and finding Rob and using Rob as sort of like a security is just a really awesome, interesting wrinkle to, I don't know, if that had never happened, who knows what the season would have been, you know. I almost feel like it would have been cursed forever, you know, if we didn't have this ray of hope, this love story. It's a love story that goes on throughout the season, and it was sweet, and it was really nice, and I loved seeing that develop. So that was, as you can tell, I'm all over the place with the season, because like on the one hand there's a lot of it that sucked, but on the other hand there's a lot of it that I loved, and it was some of the best Survivor that we've had, just in terms of like satisfying narrative structure, which they were thankfully able to do thanks to the brilliant production and editing. But yeah, I don't know, it's a weird one. This is a weird one.
It's interesting. I feel like there's two sides to, even if you look at Boston Rob specifically, you know, Boston Rob, if you look at it, he's responsible for making the outcome so predictable, but at the same time he adds so much to the entertainment value. Like he has some of the best confessionals, and he like
super charismatic.
You know, just seeing him pull off the feat of watching, can he pull it off? How much longer can he go? You know, that's worth watching for. At the same time, you know, he was the one who kept everybody in line and made it so it was so predictable. So it's like there's positives and negatives to him being there in the first place. But yeah, I will say you touched on some of it, but yeah, the biggest criticisms that fans generally have of the season are that some of the biggest all-stars are voted off early, so the people are really looking forward to seeing, you don't get to see as much, and instead you have some of the more questionable casting choices at the end, like Alicia, and ultimately the winner of All-Stars is Amber, who like no one would ever classify as an all-star going into the season.
Yeah, no, not really.
It's wild, and it's almost, it begs the question, it's like, what, like how do you get there? You know, it's weird having an all-star winner that shouldn't have necessarily been cast on the season to begin with. But
no, it's kind of wild, huh?
and other criticisms are that it is essentially a pagonging, except for Sheehan winning that immunity.
Yeah.
So it is just taking out the other
Yeah.
tribe, and then like even in the power structure, it's very much how we saw it. And then you take off the outer layers until somehow you're even left with the couple in the end.
Yeah, and despite the fact that I was playing, it is interesting because you want to see that order overturned. Like, can they keep it going or can it be overturned? I think building up the romantic aspect of the half of the pagonging people, I think that makes it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, ultimately, it's ultimately the fact that it is a pagonging is very dull.
Mm-hmm. But I do think at the same time, the season was made better for having the couple in the end because it gave the satisfying conclusion of like Rob getting his comeuppance in a way, but also getting the girl in the end. It's like an interesting conclusion to both of the storylines that I think, as much as people and fans watching the season are like, why aren't these people making moves against Rob? That's a question everybody's asking. Like, why aren't these people doing anything, rallying against them, taking shots when they can?
Sure.
At the same time, I feel like if we had like Big Tom flip with Rupert and Jenna and vote out Rob or Amber at that point, and then Rob goes out next, I feel like that's a less satisfying ending for me, even though that's more interesting that they broke up the head honcho. Then it's like, what are you left with? Like Jenna, like maybe you get a Rupert win, which would be interesting, but imagine like Jenna Tom final two. It's like that doesn't really work for a storyline as much. It's not as satisfying.
Yeah, because ultimately it ended up being just a super satisfying conclusion. The fact that we had a happy couple at the end and an engagement, and then apparently a wedding after all this. So.
For such an emotionally raw season, it's like fitting that there's such a harsh final tribal where they just lay into Rob the whole time. Yeah. And this guy who's like the godfather, who's so has so much machismo about him, Yeah. He's like really just beaten down.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. It was like when it is really raw like that, even when you're ultimately playing up your villain persona, it's hard to hear that. Like, it's hard for anybody to hear that. Like, you really have to have a very hard heart at that point not to be moved by people saying things like that about you, So
and so people, they criticize some of the casting choices. They criticize how the All-Stars are taken out in the beginning. They criticize the pagonging, and obviously they criticize having the whole Sue Hawk incident and having two people quit the game. It's like these are all things that are working against the season. And I think there's just kind of a depressing tone for a good part of it as well in general.
At least the first half was just very depressing. I mean, then you had Colby, Captain America, Colby being just a complete douche to everyone. Like, every woman was like a lesser being. Like, talking down to Sheehan. I was like, yo, I'm a she-stan, dude, don't do that.
She-stans rise up.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the least deserving All-Stars, as put on by the All-Stars. Yeah,
which is it's wild because she was the representative of that season. Which,
It's interesting because I think I read one of the trivia was that Sheehan was the only one not to make the merge, I believe, the whole season. Like, Rob makes the merge at least, but she has the fake merge and then she gets voted out. Yeah. So she's the only one there who didn't make the merge. Yeah. So that's interesting, but yeah. So let's get into it. I mean, some other stuff. So we have Tina voted out first. So this was a big storyline early on where it's winners. Like, Jenna Lewis comes on strong from the beginning, being a fan favorite that she is, saying that I don't want these winners here. I don't think they should even be here. And she just wants to vote them out because they're winners. So Tina gets voted out for that basis alone. Also that she was put on a tribe with Jerry, who didn't want to work with her particularly, so didn't have a lot working for her there.
Super upfront about that too. She's like, yeah, we'll get rid of them. Get rid of them. Get rid of all the winners. It's like,
and that's a conversation we have up until Ethan's the last one voted out, where he's like, no one's gonna vote for a winner. That's his argument, is that just on principle alone, they're not going to want to see a winner win again. And then I think it was Jenna or someone else said that, or no, Lex was the one that said, no, if I saw a winner make it there when he had the biggest target out of everybody, then I feel like I'd have to vote for them. So it's an interesting conversation. Unfortunately, you don't see the resolution. You never get to see how it would play out.
Yeah, for sure.
But ultimately, all the winners are voted out pre-merge. It would have been interesting to see if Jenna didn't quit there. Like, would she have been able to make it deep? Because it seems like
I don't know. It seemed like she was trying to. She wanted to kind of try to play the game differently than she did before, but like you could tell sort of that her heart really wasn't in it, you know, from the get go.
But as far as a winner, like she's gonna have the least threat level out there of anybody, you know, like just the way she played the game. You know, it's
for sure. Yeah.
It was almost like the one Rob C coming into the game had a bigger target on his back because of the way he played. And he has less to show for it. It's rough. I talked about this around the episode, I think, where, you know, Rob's sister Nina was voted out 4th year, and he's arguably one of the best players there. And so he made it as far as he could without getting any money in Amazon, but he played so aggressively that like his chances in All Stars were so much worse than someone who plays like Jenna, but also won $1 million. So it's rough.
Right.
So he came in with that threat level and just did not work for him.
Not at all.
And we have Rudy voted out early on, which would have been interesting to see Rudy later in the game, but I feel like he would ultimately just be another number for whoever was there. Though it would have been interesting to see Rudy and Rupert, that alliance, which seemed like they were teasing as like a long-term thing. Would have seen that go through. Would have been interesting. So then it's interesting because they did start the season with 3 tribes. That's something they never did before. You had Saboga, Shapira, and Mogo. And ultimately Saboga as the first 2 people voted out.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the 3-tribe structure. I mean, it kind of had to happen if you're having this many people, I guess. I don't know.
There's less maneuverability, right? Like, there's less room to hide for, like, if you're a big player.
Yeah.
Because the numbers are split up so much.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting part of it. Whereas, like, if Richard Hatch probably would have been voted out if, like, they went to tribal council one of the first 2 times, because he's Richard Hatch and he's in such a small tribe, you know. Something that, this is a question as well, I might work it in here. Someone said, should they have started with a winner's tribe to give them a fighting chance? That would have required them to get Brian, but would that have been worth it? Because if you have 6... Well, they weren't able to get Sandra because she was sick, but so Brian is the only other option at that point.
Right.
That's what they're saying. But like, this was an idea that a lot of people had at the time. Was like, if you had a winner's tribe, maybe they would have had a better chance. You know, where you can't just vote someone off for being a winner. You have a tribe of 6 winners, and then 6 others.
That would have been kind of interesting to like tier it or something. Like have like a list of like, these people were, this is like, these are all the winners. Then we have like not like second place, but like people who were closer. And then like people who were a little further off, that are like the fan favorites, you know, or what have you. Or you could mix those other 2. But maybe having a tribe of, I don't know. That definitely would have cool. Unbiased it a little bit against people or whatever.
Then you're pretty much guaranteeing a winner, at least a couple winners are making it to the merge, which would have been interesting.
Which would have made it more interesting, yeah.
And if like the winners tribe goes on a winning streak, then you have like a ton of winners, and they could make it into the merge at that point. And then you start to like even out the numbers a bit, so where everybody can't just pick on the winners, and they don't stick out so much. That would have been interesting to see.
It would have been really cool, I think, doing it that way.
But it would have required them to get Brian. It would be interesting if Sandra wasn't. She had like parasites from Pearl Islands, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
It would be interesting if they were able to get her, if that is a decision they would have made or not. If they would have mixed them together. Because it was weird how they ended up doing it. Was they had 2 winners on 2 tribes and then no winners on Shapira.
Yeah, it was weird.
Just so they... and that was Shapiro was Boston Rob's tribe. So we talked about in the beginning how Boston Rob just kind of like had this group. Once he got Rob Cesternino out, he had a group of like characters and like not strategic minds. So he was able to just kind of run the show there.
Yeah, because he
set the tone.
He was just able to outplay all of them.
And, like,
really,
and
ultimately.
like he's winning so many challenges. You know, he's doing so well, so they're winning every challenge they do.
Yeah, we're like Boston Rob has yet to lose a challenge. It was like he won so many challenges.
Where Rupert was like the challenge beast in his season, he did not deliver in this season at all.
He did not deliver. No.
I don't think he didn't win any individual immunities. So it's interesting. So then we get into the Richard Hatch Sue Hawk thing, right? This is the big.
Hated it. Hate it.
It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun, but it happened.
No.
Sue was totally spent, and it's so weird how it all plays out because Richard Hatch gets voted out. He's like, I've been bamboozled, and then the next episode, which is like the episode after the challenge, is when you see this Sue's outburst, and then she quits. And so it's weird because you know Richard gets voted out and then Sue quits after. Luckily, we did get to avoid like the interaction. If he was there, that would have been probably worse.
Would have been super. It would have been horrible. Yeah, I can't even imagine because he would have played it up or something. He would have done something about it, and it was just kind of like gross. And you know, if there was it's hard to tell if there was actual physical contact. Sue said that there was, and if that's the case, then that's really gross and horrible. And yeah, I mean, it was humiliating. She was right. Sue has yet another speech, and this time it was all directed towards poor Jeff, who just was like, what can he do about it? Like, I kind of felt like I very reasonable that you're angry and reasonable that you were expressing your feelings, but like Jeff is kind of just the messenger here. But it was just terrible. I mean, it's just that was the I was like, the season's cursed. It's cursed. We have Jenna's gone.
Yeah, it's like,
Richard Hatch is a fallen from grace here, you know?
So you have like fan favorites and winners getting voted out, and Jenna's quitting, and then this happens. Richard gets voted out, Sue quits, and then you have Colby voted out. Colby and Ethan are back to back in Mogo Mogo, which can largely be attributed to Lex, which was exciting. You know, the Colby vote was fun, exciting, and then Ethan.
It was, yeah.
Ethan is the big thing that comes back to haunt Lex for a lot of people because it's like him being contradictory to how he reacts to Rob's situation with him. So it's always an interesting conversation. We had this before where it's like he sits Ethan down and says it's just a game, it's nothing personal, and ultimately everything culminates in that final tribal speech that Lex says where he's like, you know, you say it's just a game, but for us this is life. And the line between game and life is it's not cut and dry. Like, he has this whole speech about it, and it's like, well,
it's very different when you did that to Ethan.
Yeah.
You know? And he was upfront with you. He was like, look, I got to play the game this way. I said I'd make a deal with you, but I can't honor that. And he was very upfront about that. And like, yeah, it's like, sure, he's basically stabbing you in the back, but at least he's telling you that he's stabbing you in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's exactly the way that you did it to Ethan, where you're like, so you're not part of my plan, but you're still my friend. And Ethan's like, what the hell, man? Like, what's your problem? Like, you can't just do that and just, you know, so. I
mean, it feels harsher for the Rob situation. Definitely feels a lot harsher.
Because he did put his neck on the line for Rob, and immediately
he has to be the first one that he votes out. It's like, Lex got to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Lex is the reason Amber's there, and he has no appreciation for it. Ethan, at least it's like he won already, so it's not the end of the world for him. It's not like, oh, this is 1 second chance that he gets. So that's why it probably hurts even more for Lex, because it's like he was so close to winning in Africa, and then he gets another chance here, and it just, he thought going into the merge he was excited, so he'd be able to actually start playing. Little did he know it was just going to be a pagonging. So
nope.
You have Kathy voted out right after, and then Sheehan wins immunity, which is a nice big moment for the season.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice in the moment, but ultimately doesn't affect
Like,
the season
unless,
much.
Yeah, unless she kept winning immunity, that was the only thing that was going to change anything, really.
So yeah, she's voted out next, and then
Yeah.
Big Tom, who has consistently been on the outside of that 4-person alliance, but he's just not been self-aware enough to make the moves early enough that he should have. Whereas like till the bitter end, he was planning on sticking with Rob and Amber. He was willing to do that to the
He's
final three.
ride or die for that group.
But I mean, somehow Rob did not believe it, and ultimately betrays Big Tom there, which will come back to bite him along with everything else.
Yeah. Here's the thing: he could have won if they'd taken Big Tom further. They'd taken him instead of they could have done it right there. But
yeah, there's so many different points you can look at where if you did something slightly differently, you might be able to get that vote for Rob. And so then you got Rupert voted out because Jenna, to the bitter end, is serving us good TV. She says, "No, I will not go to this tie. I will cave into Rob and Amber. I will vote you out, Rupert." Oof.
Yeah. It's like, okay.
Cause that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Like I would have loved to see that where like the final 4 tie, and then it could have been at Rob, Jenna, or Rupert going at that point.
Yeah, could have been any of them. So
that would have been interesting to see play out.
Yeah.
Just imagine the TV, like it might not been as satisfying as an ending, but imagine Rob gets the purple rock, and that's what undoes him in the end, is the random 1 in 3 chance. That would have been epic. Ultimately, we come down to Jenna, Rob, and Amber, and it's just like, okay, well, we're just gonna steamroll Jenna. Like all the tension is gone as soon as Rupert's voted out, basically.
Yeah, out of here.
And then Amber beats Rob 4-3. Amber gets Big Tom, Sheehan, Alicia, and Lex. Rob gets Jenna, Rupert, and Kathy. So Kathy was able to set her feelings aside and ultimately vote for Rob, while Lex is definitely not.
Yeah, Lex could not, and Tom couldn't. Obviously, Tom was the freshest victim, so he was still very upset about that, memeing his way through his speech.
I mean, it's viewed as Rob, a bitter jury is what I mean. It seems to be.
Yeah.
That,
for sure.
But it's interesting because I mean, Tom, Alicia, and Lex, they're all clearly anti-Rob votes. They're not pro-Amber votes. But yet Sheehan, who ultimately is the pivotal vote, is a pro-Amber vote.
Yeah.
And so that makes the whole difference. Like, if Sheehan thought Rob was playing the best game, she would have voted for Rob, and Rob wins. But she just was convinced that Amber was the best player. So
yeah,
ultimately,
I
her
think it
one
was
vote.
just it was Amber being able to single out Rob as the safest option to ally herself with, and then I guess using that relationship that formed out of that, not saying that it wasn't real, but like being able to adhere to that and stick to that as a positive and as a shield for her. I mean, that's a very smart game. Obviously it paid off, she won.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a more crafted and nuanced game than someone like Jenna, who literally just started playing the game in like the last 5 days. Yeah, but it's still, at the end of the day, I mean, Rob is what got her there, and
Rob just did all the legwork.
He did like all the legwork, yeah. So I think there is something to be said about, like, I think she was playing the game more than you necessarily think, but it was still Rob doing all the legwork at the end of the day too.
And I mean, definitely with the whole narrative, it's definitely the story of how Boston Rob lost, and not the story about Amber won. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because the only thread to where we see pro Amber narrative at all is Sheehan.
Yeah.
No one else is saying that at all. They're just like,
yeah, whatever. But she's thinking it's a good game plan.
So it's interesting.
I mean, to a degree, Vesepia kind of did that too.
She was understated, but she didn't have someone that she just.
Yeah.
She was in alliance with Sean, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was very different.
It was different, yeah.
All right. So you want to get into? Oh yeah. Also, it's worth noting the final 6 all had representatives of all the past seasons except for the Amazon. They were all represented in the final 6.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. And of course, the
Yeah.
Amazon's so great, and we didn't get
Yeah.
anyone there. And
No.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jenna somehow made it there. Jenna Maraska.
Yeah, maybe she could have pulled something maybe. So.
If any winner was going to do it, I think she would have been it.
Not Rob's sister Nino. And that would have been way too much. It would have been mind games. That'd be like Kira versus Elle there.
Yeah, that's why he had to get rid of him. Just like get this guy out of here so I can deal with these dumbasses.
Think about how amazing that would have been, though. Like seriously, Kira versus Elle. It's like legitimately that like wild of like mind games. It would be super cool, but yeah.
All right, so we have questions we want to do. We also have the Survivor superlatives
Excellent.
to do.
Sweet.
Here are some questions I was thinking.
Okay.
Just, is there anyone that you came into the season that you liked, but now you don't like? And is there anyone you came into the season who you didn't like, but now you like?
Richard Hatch, liked, now dislike. He's kind of a blight on his. It's kind of a stain. I'm not gonna lie. Tom, I was up and down on like constantly, because like there were times where he was just like annoying the hell out of me, and then there were times where I was like, I love Tom.
He could be a little grating, and then he also added to the frustrating gameplay where he didn't want to go against Rob. So added to that status quo, but
but I mean, I still like Tom. I think he's a wonderful part of Africa. I don't. Someone I didn't like. Well, apparently Lex. I am frustrated by Lex's complete like illogic in terms of he's absolutely not logical, all emotional, and it's very weird.
For someone who is for someone who is very strategic, also.
Yeah. And I found myself really liking him a lot through most of the season. Which I didn't expect. I still don't know. Like, I don't remember why I didn't like him. I can't really remember, but at all. Yeah, I don't know. I thought he was really good. So, I'm trying to think if there's anyone else in particular. I'm really racking my brain here. Yeah, no one's really standing out other than that. I think Lex, I would say.
Yeah.
Is probably my biggest turnaround on.
Yeah,
despite the fact that I was frustrated on him, but I still ended up liking him at the end.
He had a lot to the pre-merge, and then he also just the Boston Rob betrayal moment is so iconic, and also his final speech is a really iconic speech. Also, it's great.
It is really good. Yeah.
Even if I don't agree with it, it's powerful because it's so raw. You can tell it's genuine.
It's powerful. Yeah, no, I agree. It's still genuine. Like, you can tell there's feelings and there's really good drama out of it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, let's see some other questions we have here. Could Rob C have had a chance if he wasn't on the same tribe as the other Rob? Ice Master 3000 asks.
Ice Master 3000. 100%. Yes.
That would have been so interesting.
I think he, like I said, like I was just saying earlier, it could have been a Kira and Elle thing. I think it would have been so cool if he'd been able to work his magic with another person, or in another group. I think he really could have, because I think he wanted to try, because he knew going in, people were going to see him as a threat because he was the most strategic person that really ever played the game. Clearly definitely had studied Richard Hatch. And it was, the Amazon was just such an interesting season, due in no small part to that. I think he played a kind of an understated game towards the beginning of that, but it was always very calculating. And people knew that going in. So I think he still would have had to try to change up his game a little bit, but in another group, in another setting, I feel like he would have been able to do that again. Maybe, I mean, he could have maybe fallen under the radar again too, because he didn't win, so he could have used that a little bit to some of his advantage. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think about.
But again, it's like Boston Rob was able to work his magic probably because he didn't have such a nearly
Yeah.
the threat level that Rob C did coming into
Yeah.
this. You know, he got voted out
He
at
was
the
just-
merge.
He was just kind of fan favorite guy. Like that was sort of his thing.
Yeah, so
People
it's
liked him. Yeah.
it's a lot easier to work from that position than to work from Rob C's position of being known as the guy who will do anything to get by, you know?
Yeah.
So that's really rough because you can't shake that.
Mm.
So I don't know if that would have caught up to him regardless of what tribe he was on. Like, if he would just see Rob C and be like, we can't work with this guy. I mean, they also showed that he wasn't meshing well with that tribe in general.
Yeah. He was on the outs from pretty much day one.
But, you know, it's ultimately, it's all confetti at the end of the day. It's just, he was going to be voted out because he was a threat. Regardless, that seemed to be what they were portraying, at least.
Chasing mist.
Yeah.
Vapor.
Josh, as says, not really a question, but I think it is informative to know that Rob, Lex, Kathy, and Tom were good friends in real life and came into the season with a pre-made alliance. That is what motivates Lex to cut threats to the alliance in Ethan and Colby and keep Amber around to satisfy Rob. Yeah.
So Rob, Lex, Kathy, and Tom were all really close. That was the idea.
That's what they're saying. But also, I mean,
Yeah.
Lex is really close to Ethan, too, so that's surprising.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, a lot of these. It seems like a lot of these people were really close to each other outside the game. How is that facilitated? I'm curious. Is there like a lot of just through CBS or, like how are they connected really? Like
well,
how did they?
CBS does not want pre-made alliances at all, but it was inevitable because people
No,
just
no. I don't mean that they made a pre-made alliance. I mean their friendship outside the game. Like how is that facilitated?
Oh, I think they're just friends. You know, like they go to events and they have like charity events and stuff.
Just like meeting at events and things like that. Okay.
You know, I don't know how close they were. I know Lex, Tom, and Ethan are just really close friends in general.
Yeah.
Because of Africa, but yeah, I don't know how close. You know, as far as I knew, Rob and Lex would go to charity events and stuff together, so they had some form of friendship, which is why Lex was so betrayed by it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like these
it's-
pre-made alliances were inevitable. It's not like
Yeah.
the show never wants there to be a pre-made alliance in something like this because, you know, it doesn't work well for TV because you can't show that. And
Right.
but like people, as soon as they get a call to go on All Stars, they just start calling people. It's like, oh, you're gonna be on All Stars? You gonna be on All Stars? We should work together.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is kind of inevitability if they all know each other outside the game like this. Yeah, so it's interesting. And it was leveraged, I think, but you know, it was also betrayed. So I think that's I don't know. It did make it interesting. It did. I guess it made it a little hard to necessarily like really relate to, but I guess if you think about it a certain way, if they were all like actual castaways or whatever, you better believe you're going to leverage your friendships with the people that are there. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay, Hoot S asks, if Johnny Fairplay was on the season, how well do you think he would have done?
I don't know if anyone would have trusted him at all. I don't know. I mean,
He's like
just
he's
for
almost like a
entertainment value
slimier
alone.
Rob C, right? He's like,
Yeah, kinda, yeah. He's like he's done the thing that everyone will always remember in Survivor and pretended that his grandmother died,
yeah.
which helped him get further into the game. You know, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It would have been interesting, I think, but like I don't know. It could have been a Richard Hatch situation where he just gets axed immediately because no one wants to play with him, but. Because you can't try. I mean, can you trust anything the guy says? Really? Like.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would go about doing it because you can't just act like a genuine guy after you play.
After you played the dirtiest game of Survivor, probably. Yeah, it's. Yeah.
It would have been really tough for him, I think. Right. Chase Ferrier asks a bunch of things. There's just so many things in here.
Oh, okay. Let's hear.
Do you think the season lived up to the hype?
No.
No.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't think that.
Yeah. Does the outcome of the season affect how you look at the players from their first season? Like, for example, do you think of Colby's game in Australia or Colby as a player in general as lesser because of how he did on All Stars?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of take it all into consideration here now. Colby is spectacular. He was a great character. Do you think he was a genuine, solid dude in Australia, in Outback? And I think he mean, he was the whole story of the narrative of Outback was how he basically gave up the win. But I think going forward, it's like I kind of have this tainted perspective of Colby was just kind of how much of that was like for the camera, how much of that was for show, or was he playing up being kind of a dick to everybody in All Stars for some reason? Like I just it was so strange.
No, I think he just has an ego.
It didn't feel like it was the same person. Maybe maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Because he was like a superstar. Because it's the most viewed season ever.
Because he's nice guy TM. Like so he deserves stuff. I mean, it could have been some of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely affects it. I mean, I think Rob. I think I was a fan of Rob even in Marquesas, and I think this showcased how well he can play the game when he's, when the odds aren't stacked against him, and he can kind of maneuver. He was trying as hard as he could in Marquesas, but I think he made some slip ups way too early.
Yeah, when he's not playing from the bottom, he can keep that control.
Yeah. I mean, that definitely affects. I think he's one of the better players that's played Survivor.
That's another one of his questions actually is how does Rob stack up in your greatest players list now?
Yeah, he's up there. He's way up there. I mean, with the likes of Richard Hatch, with the likes of Rob C. Yeah, I mean, I think he's up there for sure. Yeah,
it's tough because it is his second time playing, so it's almost would you value that less, right? Because he did almost what they were
a little bit.
I
probably a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think I would put him underneath those two at the very least.
How would you?
I would put Johnny Fairplay up there too. So
yeah, Johnny Flair. Yeah, there's all those the puppet master archetype.
Literal the embodied. The puppet master archetype, but he is the Joker. He is like the chaotic evil puppet master.
Yeah.
Even though he's just out for destruction and for chaos, to sow chaos, he still somehow can control it all. Like it's just weird. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I think he's up there, definitely up there in the top, probably top 5 at least right now. I think so. Yeah.
And he also asked, did we like the revisiting challenges from past seasons? That is something they did, where they didn't focus on the culture as much. It was all about they showed Survivor trivia, and they also did so many homages to old Survivor challenges and stuff.
Yeah, I remember they were like, "Here's the first Survivor challenge," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
I didn't like that.
So
that
like
was
some of it
challenge.
was cool.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, some of it was fun. But I think me and you have both been quite critical of like how lame some of the challenges have been over the last few seasons. They've been getting better. I feel like they have been getting progressively better. I definitely like the relays a lot. They definitely do a good job with some of those. But
they did another word scramble.
Yeah, I don't know. The revisits wasn't the word challenge one? Wasn't that was like this was one that was suggested by a survivor, like a producer's kid or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Some of that wrote in. Yeah.
But then they brought it back for another iteration here.
Yeah, it was kind of late in the game too. It was weird. I don't know if I agree with it being so late like that, being such a. And it was it for immunity? It was for immunity too.
Yeah, Amber won that.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
No, Rob won that because he was like, oh, he's still gonna win that.
Amber should have won that. She looked like
she was so far ahead. Yeah.
Stopped. Yeah, I mean it was cool, but like. I don't know. I like paying homage to the legacy is fun, but like the mini games. I'm calling them mini games. The challenges are not always the best part of the game. Unfortunately, I think some of them are really great, but they've been pretty bad. Not gonna lie, for most of the game.
I did like that they brought back
some of them are really good. Some of them are not.
The match game from the Amazon where they got to like when you had all the All-Stars there still early on. They got to be like, hey, do you have a seashell? That kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. That's a fun one. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Rusty asked, if it hasn't been asked already, is there anyone that didn't make it on the jury that you think should have made it further in the game? So, is that Rob C again?
Probably Rob C. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else.
I would have liked to see Ethan make it further. I mean, he was really trying.
Ethan looked like he was trying to shake things up a little bit. Like, he's kind of squeaky clean man, and he was sort of. He wasn't necessarily that he wasn't being that way, but he was. I don't know. Maybe he was kind of playing the same game, under the radar, squeaky clean.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just a nice guy. Ethan's just a good man. So.
All right.
But probably Rob C. Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anyone else because, like, Richard, I would have said probably at the beginning of the season, Richard Hatch, you see him keep going forever. But like after what happened with this, I mean, if we were in a perfect world, if that had never happened, seeing Richard and Sue go super far would have been cool. It would have been really great.
Yeah, I mean, the ideal world, it would have been great to see all the masterminds, Richard Hatch, Rob C., Rob, Mariano, all duking it out in the end. That just never works. I feel like that's so hard for that to ever happen because, you know, they all like to be in control so much that it's like the others can't exist.
It's hard for that concept to happen. Yeah, I think that's kind of what you think of when you think of, All-Stars. So you're going to be able to see all your favorites like duking it out, but like that didn't even come close to happening, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really hard for it to be the best of the best in the end. It's just because whoever's playing the best game is not going to have those other people there. You know, you're going to be the one in control, so you can't have all these alpha male puppet masters taking up the same island.
Yeah.
So Sam Higdon asked, who were you shocked was not on All-Stars? I mean, without knowing anything, it was like Johnny Fairplay, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think...
We still don't know why Johnny Fairplay wasn't there.
Still don't know. I mean, that one kind of made sense because it was like, okay, well, you know, I think probably, honestly, the most shocking, I can't believe I'm saying this, is probably Brian.
Yeah.
Because, like, he dominated that whole season.
Yeah, so you think, if anything, you want him as that representative...
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Sheehan. I mean, I love Sheehan. I'd love to talk to her someday. You know, she's cool. I would love to talk to her someday. Yeah. No, I mean, but like, it's just wild. It seemed weird to me that was the only representative of that season. I don't remember in my. Let's go. Let me flip back to my All-Stars.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, you can go watch our Alec Making His Dream All-Stars cast before this whole season.
So my ideal cast, I like how. So I had a lot on here. Yeah, I think Brian is probably the biggest shock because I have Brian on here. So I have Brian Heidick, but I also have Richard, both Robs, Rob Mariano, Rob Sesternino, Tom Buchanan, Rupert Bonham, John Dalton. Would have been fun, but Jake Billingsley because I like the old man archetype, I guess, and then Colby. But then I had, let's see, Sheehan, Sandra, Christy, Kathy, Elizabeth. Sean would have been cool to have in there too, I think.
Yeah, I really would have liked
it.
It
would have been really nice, yeah. Maybe swap out Jake for Sean, but
I think
Sean would
have
really
done
cool.
well. He could, and that would be interesting to see him and Boston Rob there because they were really close on their original season.
Yeah.
Would Boston Rob have betrayed him in the same way?
Yeah, I don't know. That would have been interesting. Yeah, maybe Vesepia too. I mean, Vesepia did win.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that I picked a lot of the people that represented though. I had Sheehan, I had Kathy, Sue, Jenna. Yeah. All the females. Again, it was Alicia and like Jenna and Amber ultimately. Where I was like, that's confusing. And then they ended up going further than I ever would have expected.
Jenna Lewis, true all-star.
True all-star.
The first person, I think, third best player to ever play the game.
The third, the first person I think about when I think about Survivor.
Yeah. All right, Brian Thomas asks, since there was America's Tribal Council special that aired after, which we did do a reaction to, they gave out awards for the best of. So he wants to know what you would have given for the awards. So there's Best Survivor Fight. What do you think of? Even if you don't even think about the nominees. We talked about it a little bit, but...
Yeah, I think we just talked about it during our reaction. I don't know how much I don't remember how much we discussed after, because that was after like three and a half hours of us watching stuff, like technical issues and then watching things. It was a long day. So
this is a few of them. Let's just do like gut reaction. What would you say? Best Survivor Fight. What comes to mind?
Best fight. Wow. I mean, I can't believe it was the one where I was like, no, that's cringe. Like, I mean, it was it dominated it sort of tainted the whole season. Yeah, Ted Gundy. Yeah.
Come on, you're
think
voting
I-
Ted Gundy
No,
best
no,
Survivor
I'm
fight.
not. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not.
There it is.
That was a joke. um.
Iconic fight though.
Iconic fight. Absolutely. 100% iconic.
They really did be getting mad at each other though. That was crazy.
Jerky Gate.
Jerky Gate, not that much of a fight, but
I'm kidding. No.
Best
Not
gate.
that much of a fight, but cool flex.
They should have done that in the awards. Best gate.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking of fights. I mean, like, every fight with Johnny Fairplay was awesome. I mean, like, everyone getting upset at him.
Johnny.
Who
with,
the hell voted for me?
yeah, Johnny with Rupert. Johnny with
with
Sandra.
Rupert.
Johnny with Sean.
Yeah.
They're all great.
All of those were pretty great. I mean, I'm just trying to think of maybe the weird guy from Marquesas.
Peter, not much of
Peter.
a fight there either. He was just weird. Okay.
Yeah,
Not everything is a fight, Alec.
I don't know what they. I mean,
He's
I can't
fighting the
believe
good fight as a
I
weird
don't remember
guy.
what they used. What they used as examples was weird. It was like Ted Gandia. Then they had like Rob versus
Choking him out, yeah.
choking out.
But they
I mean
did
that
have-
that to me is like was like great. It was that's an iconic. When I think of Survivor, I do think about that moment because of how hysterical it was.
They did do Rupert and Johnny was the winner of that, so
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's probably that. That's probably what I would
alright.
say.
Next
yeah.
is sexiest Survivor man. Is it Colby Donaldson?
Colby or Ethan.
Yeah. It's hard to get past that. It's objectivity.
Yeah, they're very, very gorgeous men. Built, masculine. Those muscles, though. Yeah. Probably either of those guys. I'd probably say Colby. I'd probably think Colby has the edge.
Mhm.
But yeah. I was really grossed out when they were showing Rob with 2 B's in that list, and I was like, "What?"
You didn't like that.
Nah, but I was also thinking, but this is the early 2000s, like that's like a 90s holdover. That style, the way it's just the way he kind of held himself, that sort of build on a guy was very like early 2000s.
Yeah.
So like that was super. That kind of a guy was very attractive. So I can understand why he was there, but I was like,
Mhm.
these days it's like, nah.
What about hottest Survivor woman?
Well, this season did a lot for Amber.
Did a lot.
She did a lot for Amber.
All-star material. It's between her and Jenna Maraska, right?
Yeah, I think Jenna still. I think I even said in the episode. I think Jenna still has the edge for me. She's just so beautiful.
I think it is
like,
Amber for
unbelievably
me,
beautiful.
but they're both beautiful.
Yeah,
Eyes. She has the best eyes. I mean,
Amber absolutely has the best eyes.
Best Survivor eyes tier list coming soon.
Amber. This is coming soon to a Tarqaron near you.
Best Survivor villain.
Johnny Fairplay.
Johnny Fairplay. Okay.
Yeah,
You
I
were
mean,
saying
I
Richard
think
Hatch at the time was your first gut reaction.
Richard Hatch is because he's absolutely the mastermind.
You don't have a
I
Johnny
think-
Fairplay without a Richard Hatch. It's true.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's hard. It's a toss up between those two because like Johnny Fairplay literally took it to the next level to make it a villain.
Yeah, like
Like,
he
ultimate
really
villain.
embraced the wrestling style over the top villain.
Really, yeah, for sure. I think that's I think the over the top edge is what gives it to me, but like, it's I could be swayed. I think I'll just say Johnny Fairplay, but
There is a beauty to Richard Hatch doing that on the first season when it was unprecedented, right?
yeah, because like you think initially going in when you think you try to play the hero, right? You try to play the guy who's trying to be the friend to everybody, right?
Imagine coming onto when there's no such thing. Like, this is the first
Yeah.
of its kind of reality show ever, you know,
Yeah.
and you're like, I'm going to be the villain. That takes a lot, and to just embrace it so well.
That is some guts and definitely some.
And then he sets.
It was a thought out game for sure.
He sets the precedent. He's the godfather of the game because of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the game is what it is because of how he
Yeah.
played. But I mean, he can't be the best everything forever just because he was the first to do it, right? That's when you get into the GOAT debates and everything. It's like, well, if you were the first to do, this guy wouldn't exist without this guy. But then
and then like I said, this sort of took him down a peg here, you know, this season.
Wrong villain, not the kind of villain we want.
Yeah, we don't want a villain like that. We also what happened with Ted and Gandia, so.
Ted was the best villain of that season.
Ted was the
All right, and most memorable moment.
Just in Survivor in general.
Yeah, I think the winner.
The winner was.
Oh, the winner was Rupert stealing the shoes. And I did not agree with that. I thought all the other options were better.
Literally every other option. I mean, you gotta give it. I gotta 100% give it to Snakes and Rats.
Snakes and Rats.
Such a great. It was awesome.
It's either Snakes and Rats or Dead Grandma.
Dead Grandma. Yeah, it is really either one of those. Yeah, but I think I gotta give it to Snakes and Rats just because it's like.
It's beautiful.
Man, Sue can really just she can what she really thinks about like what she's gonna say. She's really pretty good.
Yeah, give me that Sue back.
Yeah.
Give me that Sue back.
Well, she seemed like she was living her best life during the reunion.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, they did a whole makeover. Yeah, you know,
they just hooked her up with another show to make her feel better."
She had a talk show after this.
No.
Did she have like a talk show or something after this? No. Did she have a show?
No, she just was part of this makeover show she was talking about, where they did a makeover.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then the last award thing we'll touch on in the superlatives, so we'll get to that later. All right. I think that's all of the questions. Okay. I didn't do all of them. You'll notice some of you. If you missed some of your questions, is because some of them I was like, maybe you'd rather not do that. Some are a little spoilery in different ways. So, I mean, some aren't. Future? It's like I'm just really strict about like. Rather not.
You're strict. I've had a gag order. I can't even like.
You
search
can't look up
Survivor
anything.
On stuff. Yeah, I can't look up anything.
I do want to.
I don't even know.
I do want to show you something. I got
a
thing to send you because you can't look up anything. So I wanted to show you this.
Okay.
Take a look at that.
Aww.
So that's a picture of them in 2021, baby.
No, you can't do that. Yes. It's just making me feel so many things.
This is 17 years later, baby. 17 years later, still going strong. It's true love. Love truly does exist.
That warms my heart so much.
Look at them. They're spitting images of Amber, their daughters. They have 4 daughters.
That's like clones. That's amazing. They legitimately look like clones. Like,
I know.
Wow. She is still gorgeous. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that wonderful?
Look at the salt and pepper raw. He looks great too. What an adorable family. Do they still live in Massachusetts?
I don't know, actually. I feel like I did know at some point, but
that's awesome.
Get back
good for them. You know, good for them.
Isn't that amazing?
Love is real.
Love is real. That's like one of the most successful love stories on TV ever.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for them.
Because you don't.
I legitimately got teared up from that. So.
Because I mean, most people, you have a pessimistic take on this kind of stuff. You see, like, oh, they proposed in the finale. It's like, oh, how long is that gonna last, right?
Yeah.
It's like give them a couple years tops. But no, they're still there. No, it's beautiful.
It lasted, and that makes me very, very happy.
And we owe it all to you, honestly. Lex.
Yeah, thanks,
we
Lex.
We owe it all to you. You take honestly, care of her.
Kind of. Yeah. Like, who knows what would have happened? Because that was when she realized that I have feelings for this person. Like, real feelings.
It's beautiful. So all the pain we endured in All Stars was worth it for love. To reign
true love. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
That's amazing. Oh, that's great.
All right, so let's get to the Survivor superlatives.
Okay.
Who is the cutie of the season?
Amber.
Jenna was there. She could.
Amber. 100% of the way. I mean, you couldn't not.
See, that's why cutie of the season. You can't win it if you're not there that much. Because you could say you like Jenna more, but she didn't make as much of an impact. So there's more cutie material. What is the best intro shot of the season?
I was torn between the two Robs, but I think I'm gonna give it to Rob Cesternino.
Rob sees the nice smile.
Just like that, he's just having a good time. He's just laughing.
He didn't know any better at the time. He thought he was gonna be here.
Yeah.
He thought he was gonna get to play the game.
He didn't know his head was on the chopping block the whole time. Yeah, what a wonderful. I love him in the reunions too. He's just such an earnest soul.
He's like the super fan there. You know, he's just like geeking out.
Yeah.
And who is Alex's favorite player award? What does it go to?
Gotta go to Boston Rob.
Rob Mariano, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though Rupert did win $1 million just for being so beloved. Won
$1 million for being such a swell guy. Rupert's one of my favorite players ever. Like, I'm not taking that away from him, but we just got to double down on Rupert this season. It wasn't
two
as much
seasons
like,
in a row of Rupert.
Two seasons. Yeah, it's like, where are we gonna be? I feel like I'm gonna have a Rupert-shaped hole in my soul for the next season.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, now let's get down to the rankings of the seasons. Where would this season fall in your rankings? Previously, you had it ranked the Amazon, Pearl Islands, Australian Outback, Borneo, Marquesas, Africa, Thailand. Where does All Stars go?
Can I make some switches?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna switch Pearl Islands to the top.
Number one.
I think Amazon is great, but like looking back at everything Pearl Islands did, it just like it did everything Amazon did. I like the sex dynamic.
I love sex.
Amazon.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
dynamic.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm an expert on the subject, obviously.
Sex goddess Jenna was there.
I look at my pile of girly anime figures back there. I'm clearly an expert on this subject. No, but like it's like men versus women. That was just a really fun hook for Amazon. They did a really fun job playing it up. Led to a lot of like goofy moments. A lot of interesting strategic play later on in the game. Rob Cesternino obviously doing a phenomenal job. I think it was a great season. I think Pearl Islands just upped the ante of it in just the right ways. It had a more satisfying conclusion than Amazon, and plus introduced to Rupert and Johnny Fairplay and Sandra, like 3 players I'm gonna remember for basically forever. So, yeah, it's just an amazing season. So,
there's so much to love from that. Yeah.
So for this, go back through that again. So we got Pearl Islands, Amazon,
Australian Outback, Borneo.
Outback's still very hard for me. Yeah, Borneo,
Marquesas, Africa, Thailand.
I'm gonna put it above Africa. I think it sits right in the middle, just under Marquesas, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Marquesas was an interesting ups and downs in that season. Like it wasn't a bad season at all. It was very good, but
you said right below Marquesas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like because Marquesas just as a whole was a lot more interesting. I think this season gets its strengths from the drama and from the narrative, not necessarily from Rob, who's able to mostly just steamroll everything. Like he commands the whole game, so that's interesting in and of itself. But it's not, you don't see any shakeups or anything wild happen or anything overly interesting happens. It's about that love story, and I mean, love story is great. I mean, I was just getting teared up seeing Rob, Amber, and their children. Like that, clearly that means something to me, now. So it was very effective in terms of that. It just really didn't live up to me for it to be an all-stars sort of thing. It didn't quite stand out as like, this is the ultimate Survivor. It's like, it's not really, unfortunately. I hate to say it. It did a lot of things well, but like we've been sort of going around in circles. It's just like it did some things really interestingly and well, paid homage. It had all these figures from previous seasons, but then there's just some weird, all the cursed stuff that happened in the first half, and it was a negative feeling all throughout the beginning, and it was just like gross. and then ended with a pagonging. So it's like, but the fact that it's not at the bottom, definitely better than Thailand. I mean, anything at this point is better than Thailand, I think. And then I thought it was even better than Africa, just because you had that hook. Africa was really dour for the first half. We had the shakeup that felt like it was producers being like, all these miserable people are dominating the game. We got to do something. Switch tribes. I mean, I could have been playing from the beginning for all I know, but wasn't the most interesting season. It did give us Ethan and Tom, but this is definitely I would say above that, just because there was a little bit more going on with it. But yeah, it's still down there though. I'd say it's like in the middle towards the.
That'll put it at 6th place out of 8 so far. So my seasons previously were Pearl Islands, Amazon, Borneo, Marquesas, Australian Outback, Africa, Thailand. I think I would put it the same spot. I would put it 6th. So above Africa and Thailand for me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love like how raw and emotional it is in the end. I mean, the payoff is really great. And
so the payoffs are really.
If you don't have the final tribal like that, I mean, it drops significantly. I think if you have like somehow it's a Big Tom, Amber final 2, it's like that's way worse because it's satisfying to finally have the person who is the puppet master make it to the end and ultimately lose and so narrowly, because we had back-to-back seasons of Johnny Fairplay and Rob's sister Nino making it as far as they can without making it to the final 2.
Yeah.
And so you don't get the payoff of all the stuff they've done that season, but this one you at least get payoff, and it's great.
Yeah, well, yeah, because like you the laundry list of the people Rob betrayed, and it's like that does make for very interesting. He has to come to face them again. Like that is a very interesting story. I mean, it's just an interesting story, really. And so yeah, that does. I agree. I think the finale. Because I remember like the whole finale, like I was getting excited. My heart was racing at a couple points. I was like, this is just really interesting and exciting. Don't necessarily know, even if it ends up being exactly how you'd predict. It was still interesting and exciting to watch because of that. So,
and it was a 4-3 vote, so it's like really.
Yeah, it was still very close.
Could have been either one if he just did something like a little bit differently. All right, now the winner rankings. Where does Amber fall? We have Richard Hatch. Well, you have Richard Hatch, Brian, Sandra, Vesepia, Tina, Ethan, Jenna.
Above Jenna, I think. Not one of the most interesting. I think I give her more credit than Jenna, but not one of the most interesting winners we've ever had. It's about the love story. It's not about the what is it? It's not about the reward. It's about the journey you took with your friends along the way.
Yeah.
It's about the friends you made along the way, and the relationship along the way was ultimately what mattered in the season.
Yeah, Amber's not the winner of the season. Rob is the loser.
Yeah.
But he also.
But really,
won.
he also won. They both won. Look at that beautiful family they have.
Yeah, I would agree. I would put her in the same spot. But I have Richard Hatch, Brian, Tina, Sandra, Vesepia, Ethan, then Amber, then Jenna. I think it'll be tough to be below Jenna for me, just because she wanted to quit at one point and she didn't really have that much agency. She wouldn't have made it if she didn't win those final few immunities.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Amber, she hitched her wagon to the right person. It's not even. Yeah. That's the problem with Amber. You can't even give her that much strategic credit because it was true love. So she was just going with the person she loved. So it's not even like, oh, I know he's the strategic best. He'll lose in the end against me. It's like, no, I love him, so I'm gonna stick with him.
So do you think that Sheehan was thinking that she was playing him the way Kathy was fearing? Like, because she was like, are you playing him as a patsy? Or are you just going along with this for the $1 million?
I don't know. I think Sheehan gave her way too much credit, though. I mean, I think Sheehan was like being too cute about it. That like she's good. She's a pretty girl that people are overlooking and everything. It's like, yeah, they are. But also that is kind of the reality of the situation. As Rob is, I feel like if you're looking at it objectively like Sheehan was trying to do, and you're saying you can say that Amber is in the best position to win. But for me, if you make it there with Rob, I think you have to give it to Rob at that point because he played a much more difficult game and he did all the work.
He took all the slings and arrows of everyone, you know?
So it's like you can say the path to get there was a lot harder for him. Like he could have been taken out along the way and then Amber could win as a result. But if you're making it there, I feel like you deserve that credit. But Sheehan was like, no, she's the true mastermind. That's not really true. I don't think.
No, I don't think that's
too
true
much
either.
credit, Sheehan.
I don't buy that. Yeah. So
You got too cute with it. Just vote for Rob, and then Rob wins. It's wild.
That's it. There you go. All right.
Man, Survivor All Stars, huh?
Here it is. That's Survivor All Stars in a.
The Rob and Amber show.
Mm-hmm.
The begonging, and there's so many layers to it. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of bad.
Mm.
But we're on to all fresh faces next season. Survivor Vanuatu, Islands of Fire.
Islands of Fire, and I like I said, there was a lot of emphasis on like the kind of like it's cannibalistic culture. It's like they have skulls in the logo, and this is airing in September, and I was like, this is perfect for fall and spooky season, and they're airing it in October. Like it's gonna air through October, and probably into December. But I think that fits perfectly for the time of year. I think that was a really smart move for them to do that. That's fun to me.
Yeah. So this one was filmed. All Stars was filmed in November to December of 2003 and aired in February to May 2004.
Mm-hmm.
That's worth noting. But yeah, I mean, there's so much. It's so interesting to look back on 8 seasons, and I mean, All Stars. You got to give it credit because it was it's an unprecedented thing to bring back.
Yeah. It was
people.
ambitious. I think they had a really good idea. I just think in practice it wasn't I don't think it was exactly what they hoped for. But I mean we got a beautiful relationship that came from it. So
and it's like you didn't get to see some of the best people play, but you did get to make better players out of Rob. You know, you got to see him do his thing that he didn't get to do, at least. So thank you for watching. I mean, next week we'll be right into the next season.
Absolutely.
It'll be great.
I'm looking forward to it. More Survivor. It's always good. It's good to look back, but it's always good to press forward into further seasons.
The train never stops. We just keep
never
going.
Does. Nope. Tarqaron's taken right off. Last train home? No way. We're still trucking on. Zach, where should what video should the fine watchers of this review of the season as a whole, what should they go check out after this?
I don't know.
know.
Amber, go watch our review of the Survivor of the Australian Outback on my channel.
Okay, yeah, go see it.
I'd be like, how many times do we mention Amber's name in that review? Maybe once, at the most.
Probably about her eyes, maybe.
Not even.
We didn't even talk about that during that.
Maybe we talked about it. Oh yeah, maybe in the QE discussion she comes up. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like she was like not even. She was a footnote, the smallest footnote on that season, and now she's the winner of All Stars.
Yeah. What a wild turn of events, huh?
Like I'm pretty sure was an alternate. Like I think people were pretty confident that she was an alternate for like Elizabeth from Australia, or like I think it was probably for Elizabeth, or if they could have gotten Colleen from the first season, they probably would have taken her out as well.
What a crazy twist of fate, then, huh?
I know, it's like
now we have like a beautiful relationship family out of this.
Everything had to align perfectly for this to happen. Lex had to keep her, and Elizabeth had to not be there. And
even that thing with the tribes was wild. She was the only one that.
Forgot to talk about that.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that, but that was an amazing twist. Where they were supposed to, you're swapping buffs, so you could be ending up on another tribe. And it's like they completely swapped perfectly to the other tribe except for her. She stayed on the same tribe, which meant that she was with everyone else on the other team, and that was just so crazy. And
this was a surprisingly entertaining episode.
I
surprisingly
think that's the one,
unpredictable from when it should have been like a clear, Amber gets voted out now.
I think that's the one. Yes, that's the one I gave a star to this season. That was my favorite.
It was really great.
It was a spectacular episode.
And I mean, the Lex betrayal episode was great. Also.
Yeah, the one following.
And the
it
final
was
episode was
super.
great.
Yeah. I agree. Both of those two. Yeah, 10 episodes 10 and 11 are just super episodes.
Also, I mean, it was not fun, like Jenna quitting, but I remember us really enjoying how they did that episode. At least, like we talked about that for a lot. It was like our longest discussion, and also like just the way they handled it. It was all like this emotional music, very dramatic, with Jenna leaving the game.
Yeah,
it was really well done. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of great stuff here. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to our podcast feed, like the video, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook, Tarqaron, TWO. Right.